If the enemy wanted to enslave a generation, he wouldn't use shackles, he'd use dollar signs. Scripture already told us this, but few actually believe it. Today, we open the pages and unmask every verse about money, and the warning believers can no longer afford to ignore. For most believers, money isn't just paper, it's a battlefield. It's the silent storm behind sleepless nights, the shadow that stalks every paycheck, the weight of debts that never seem to break. We feel guilt when we give, fear when we don't, and anxiety about a future we cannot control. The chains don't jingle like prison bars, but they tighten all the same. And too often, we mistake survival for freedom. But Scripture doesn't leave us guessing. It gives us a map. Lesson 1. Surrender over surplus. God measures hearts, not wallets. Mark chapter 12, verse 43 to 44 says, "This poor widow has put in more than all the others. The world crowns the rich, but Jesus crowned the widow with 2 coins. Her lack became her weapon. Her surrender outweighed their surplus. Heaven counts sacrifice, not spare change. So ask yourself, when you give, do you give what's left or do you give what costs?" Lesson 2. Debt as chains. Debt is a contract written in chains. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7 reminds us, "The borrower is slave to the lender." Debt is not neutral. It is enslavement disguised as agreement. Each signature is a shackle. Each loan a leash. Each interest payment a slow tightening of the rope. The enemy doesn't need bars of iron when he has contracts of paper, and many Christians walk willingly into cages, mistaking them for opportunity. Which debts in your life feel less like tools and more like shackles? And what would freedom begin to look like without them? Lesson 3. Money as a mirror of worship. Your treasure reveals your throne. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Money is a mirror, showing who or what we truly serve. Our spending patterns are altars, revealing what we worship when no one is watching. The enemy doesn't need your praise if he already has your priorities. If your bank statement was a sermon, what would it preach about your heart? Lesson 4. True wealth is contentment. The world sells storms, but God offers a harbor. 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 6 declares, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." The world drives us into endless storms of more possessions, more promotions, more applause, but each wave leaves us emptier, hungrier, restless. Contentment is God's hidden harbor, a quiet shore where striving breaks and peace begins. True wealth is not what fills your hands, but what settles your soul. What storm of more are you chasing? And what would it mean to drop anchor in the harbor of enough? Lesson 5. Giving as warfare. Generosity is a weapon against greed. Acts chapter 20 verse 35 reminds us, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Giving is not charity, it is combat. Every act of generosity tears down greed's fortress and weakens the enemy's grip. When you open your hand, chains fall, idols crumble, and the kingdom advances. Who could you bless this week? Not out of surplus, but as an act of war against selfishness. Money itself is not the enemy. It is the battlefield. A battlefield where loyalty is tested, where hearts are revealed, where chains are either forged or broken. But Scripture does not leave us weaponless. It teaches us that surrender outweighs surplus, that chains can be shattered, that generosity turns the tide of war. What feels like a storm of scarcity can become a harbor of peace when contentment takes root. What once enslaved can become a tool for freedom when placed under God's rule. The word does not condemn, it equips, it arms us with wisdom to fight, to stand, to overcome. And in the end, victory is not measured in dollars, but in devotion. And that's where the warning becomes an invitation. In the end, money is not your master. It is the battlefield where your allegiance is revealed. The call is not to fear it, but to surrender it, to wield it for the kingdom instead of being bound by it. Today is not about numbers. It is about loyalty, about chains that must break and altars that must be rebuilt. So take what you've heard and step into the war with open hands, for in the silence that follows, you may just hear the sound of shackles falling.